We're back with episode 5 of the 8x8 podcast. Episode 5, Lily, right?
Yeah, episode 5.
Okay. And we got a good one. We got a good one this episode. We have JK or James Kelly from Australia joining us on the call, probably any minute now. I'm really looking forward to the conversation with JK. But how are you getting on today, Lily?
I'm good. Been a busy day. It's been a busy day, but I took like an hour out to go to the beach, and I just did some work on the beach, but also watched my boyfriend surf. So yes, it was a nice little breather.
Did he catch a few waves? Has he picked up the surfing since he's been in Puerto?
He's done a bit before. He got a couple waves today. I had a lighter board, but his like string thing broke, so the board went flying off and he had to swim half the way back.
Okay. Yeah, there's some really big surf down there, actually. It's quite scary.
There's actually been a surf competition on. Yeah, there's been a surf competition on whilst we've been here, which is pretty cool to watch. Massive wave.
Cool. And how's your training been going this week? I know you're in a bit of a transitional week. Did you get much training in?
No, I got a few runs in. But yeah, it's fine. I don't mind taking a week off. I hit it.
I think I see a lovely Australian head in the waiting room here. Maybe we can let him in. Let's have a look. Cue JK.
How are you guys?
Listen, Lily, you start. Your day's been much more exciting than mine.
Yeah, I mean, we're across 3 different time zones here, so it's like 2:30 in the afternoon for me. So we did a podcast this morning, done some work in between, and then a little beach break, and then back to it now. So it's been a pretty good busy day.
Where are you based, Lily?
I'm a digital nomad, so everywhere, nowhere. So at the moment, I'm in Mexico. Yeah.
I was going to say you're in Bali, because everyone's in Bali if you're a digital nomad.
Yeah, definitely. From Australia as well. They love it there.
Mexico. That's awesome.
She's in a really cool part of Mexico too, a little beach town called Puerto Escondido, which is absolutely incredible. It just blew up about 2-3 years ago, and one of the best surf spots in the world. Real nice little hippie vibe.
Nice.
I'm in Northern Ireland. I was actually living in Spain for the last few years until about 2 weeks ago. So I'm back in Northern Ireland, and pretty stressful day for me. I've got twin girls, and they are absolutely wild. They're half Irish, half Mexican. So as I say to many people, you don't know whether they're going to fight you, buy you a pint, or dance with you. They're 2 little wildcats, 2 little firecrackers.
How old are they, Ryan?
They're 2 years and 2 months.
Wow, you definitely must have your hands full.
You will hear them on this call, and they may bust in. They may take the Wi-Fi hostage. Anything could happen, but we'll just try and go with it. They're very cute, so they sort of get away with it.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I
am 6:30 a.m. Wednesday morning on the Sunshine Coast of Queensland in Australia. Queenslander, yeah.
Yeah. So I spent a lot of my younger years. I'm still pretty young. I'm only 36, but I spent a lot of my time living in Australia for 4 or 5 years. You'll be surprised that I spent about a year and a half actually living in Queensland. I was doing some jobs that probably only Aussies would understand. I was relocating when I was 21. I had a job of relocating Queenslander properties all over the province. On the back of those trucks. I done that for a year.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. And like you're right, only Queenslanders would understand that because there's a big it's still actually my mum is the one that always tells me when we drive past like a good old Queenslander. She's like, oh my God, that's such a great Queenslander still, but no one else would understand what that means.
Yeah, it was dangerous work, but it was good fun. I got to see plenty of Queensland, so we'll get into a little bit of that in some of our questioning. But listen, two kind of housekeeping questions for you. Firstly, how long are you good for? Because I want to have a hard cut-off around that time to respect your time.
45 minutes.
Cool.
Is that okay?
Yep, totally fine. And then secondly, when can we progress from James Kelly to JK? it like the second podcast, the third podcast? Like, when are we good to start a preview? I don't want to tread on anyone's toes.
You're more than welcome. I already like you guys very well, very much. So you're more than welcome to call me whatever you want.
Where are the boundaries on that?
I know, yeah.
There's no boundaries. It's funny. My partner, no, she probably calls me JK more than James now. But most people know me as JK. So,
Okay.
most people know me as JK in this industry. So JK is totally fine, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's cool. Actually, people when they often talk about Joe Rogan, right? And they say that because you listen to him so much throughout the week, you feel like you know him, and you probably do because you listen to 9 hours or so if you're a fan, right? And you probably got a good idea on what his character is. For a few weeks since we've been seeing this podcast stuff, I've learned a lot about you and your history and so on and so forth. So I feel I probably know you better than we're two strangers to you. Questions hope don't freak you out. We just like to do our due diligence. We like to try and make it interesting for you.
No, and that's the way of the world these days, right? Like, I actually thought about that concept yesterday when I was listening to Tia Claire Toomey. Do you know who Tia Claire Toomey is? The CrossFit Games world champion, like, for X amount of years. Like, in my head, I was like, I feel as if I know her very well, and that's just because of the documentaries and the content that she pushes out and stuff. So totally understand that. And I listened to Bo on your podcast the other day, so I understand how you guys flow a bit, and it's a little bit more questioned and whatnot. So I'm excited.
Give yourself a bit of an introduction into everything.
My name's James Kelly. Most people know me as JK in the Hyrox hybrid space, and I coach and race in the Hyrox world right now. And yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's who I am right now. And yeah, my partner and I live on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland in Australia, and we believe it's the perfect place and the best place on earth. So we're enjoying our life back home in Australia at the moment.
Cool. And point, like, you've obviously had a bit of background within sport, lots of different things. We've seen you're big into F45 CrossFit phase. AFL seemed to be a big passion as well. Did you ever think you'd end up at this level of any sport?
It's funny you bring this up, Ryan, because I spoke to one of my good mates yesterday about this, and I think in Australia, a lot of kids get brought up playing a lot of sport, playing everything and anything. And when I was a kid, all I wanted to do was be a professional cricketer for a while, and then that changed to a professional Aussie rules footballer, and then I found a love for running and wanted to become a professional runner, which was never going to happen, and so on and so forth. And I personally was really good at sport, but wasn't good enough to make it to the elite levels. To then hit Hyrox, and that was only 2 years ago. And now I'm 31, and it becoming a reality, becoming a professional sportsman is like a dream come true, to be honest. I feel like sometimes my day to day, right now in especially the last year, when it's become more of a profession for me, I feel like I'm back 12 years of age, running around, just enjoying my whole day-to-day operations of just getting after it. And yeah, it's exciting because it's just started as well. And to answer your question, I didn't think this would come true, to be honest.
You think that's like it's such a unique opportunity, Hyrox, in that a lot of people had what they probably thought were the heydays of their sporting career, and they were maybe declining, and they found Hyrox, and there was like a resurgence or a second coming of their career. it's a crazy concept. Most sports to the highest level, you'd have to be committing to it from a young age to get to the top level. What is it that's unique about Hyrox that allowed people to come in from all different backgrounds and compete to a very high level quite quickly? Like you said, within 2 years. I think actually your first race, you positioned first in like a pro race as well. Like, what is it? What is it about Hyrox that, in your opinion, there that allows people to do so?
Well, I can only use myself as an example, Ryan. My first pro race, my first ever race that I did, I won, and I was lucky enough. I'm lucky enough to say I'm the first pro to go on sub 60 on debut. And people would say, "Oh my god, like he must have trained for that." And whatnot. And the reality of that is like I didn't train for that race at all. It was to do with the 10 to 15 years of Aussie rules football, long distance running, gym work, functional work. I'll even put F45 style work in there that led me to that race,
Yeah,
or that led me to the result of the race. And I think more case than not, the athletes who are doing very well in the sport are the ones that did do a lot and different things growing up. I always preach to my athletes who I coach online that it's not the 6 months build that really matters to your next race. It's actually what you've done the last 10 years. And that's what Hyrox has created in a way is, well, it's allowing people to really dive into a different craft, and that craft is this whole hybrid racing scene, um, and it's allowing a lot of more people to do that on a serious level. Um, I'll be the first to say that CrossFit have done wonders to the health and fitness community and
yeah,
to people who just want to push themselves. But there always has been, I guess, a barrier to entry to CrossFit um, due to their priorities of skill.
yeah,
Um, but now that Hyrox is taken the world by storm, yeah, there's skill involved, but most people without training a lot can actually end up finishing a Hyrox, whether it is a singles, doubles, or relay.
yeah.
Um, so that's the beautiful thing about it, and it's as I said, I truly believe it's just getting started.
Well, yeah, and I spoke about this, I think, on a couple of the other podcasts. Is this is by no doubt the fastest growing sport in the world. There's two sports growing very fast globally right now. There's paddle and there's high rocks. But if you take the nearest competitors to the likes of a high rocks, a CrossFit or Ironman, which is what people would do for an operational goal, right? When you look at CrossFit, they had 410,000 global participants compete in the open on any given year. That their peak, like 2018, 2019. Hyrox is predicted to do 410 more or less this year. And how long are they in the game?
Exactly.
4 or 5 years. CrossFit took 20 years to get to that number.
I'm the first to understand that I'm at the top end of of the sport, but I totally understand that Hyrox as a sport, Hyrox as a even a company, a franchise, if you want to call it that. You know, it's the everyday athletes that actually make the sport um, happen. And without the actual everyday athlete, the sport wouldn't be here and the sport wouldn't grow. So ultimately, what I'm getting at there is the more people and the more everyday athletes that are coming in will actually will actually allow us professional now to rise, professional athletes to rise. And ultimately, like that's what we want. Um, you know, and rightly so. You know, yes, the Hyrox or the Hyrox team globally have made the elite system a lot more professional this year, and I know for a fact last year was even more professional than the previous year. So it's just getting better. Um, but I'm the first to say that that wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for the actual, you know, the 125 events that are going on this year, and the 600,000 people that are going to be racing, and not just the 15 males and 15 females that are the top end of the sport, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
um so yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, it's cool that us amateurs get to share like the same stage as you elite guys as well. We definitely feel like included in the vibe. And like there's such a demand for it as well, with like, I don't know what it's like in Australia, but in Europe and the UK, the Hyroxes get sold out in like minutes. They go so fast and it's so hard to get a place in any of them. So it's really cool to see there's such a big demand for it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I was just obviously at the Hong Kong race 10 days ago. And there was something that was it that was my second Asian race that I've partaken in, and there's something about the vibe over in Asia that is just different to any other events that I've been a part of. It's a very loving and um, a positive community, and I think a lot of people loved the whole concept of being able to say that they raced and race in the same course as people like myself, and also, like, because of my roles on the weekend, I was there on the weekend. I was able to meet the everyday athletes as much as I could, and I think that's what's making it pretty special, as well as yes, we're elite, and I'll be honest with you guys, like, we're getting to a point where it is my full-time job, but also, the one thing that I personally try to do is, that doesn't mean that I'm any better than anyone that's doing a Hyrox race, and also, um, yeah, it allows me to kind of try to be like authentic, and make sure that I actually relate to people that are trying to have a crack as well. So um yeah, yeah. And as I said, guys, we're just getting started, I believe.
Yeah. Such a good bloke. Such a good bloke. Listen, I promised you something different on this podcast. And I really do want to just change things up a little bit, come at things from a slightly different angle. I think we've framed things quite
Yep.
well, sort of who you are, the excitement of the sport, and that's all well and good. But we really want to tell your story a little bit better. So let's change up the tempo. We're gonna kick off with some questions. I believe I've got the first one, Lily.
Yep.
So you'll like this one. So let's start. Maroon or blue? So you're a true Maroon, I assume. Blue is their competitors, Lily, New South Wales, and rugby league and many other sports. So when it comes to Aussie food or drink, if you like it, it's Maroon. If you don't like it, it's a blue. So 4X, Maroon or blue?
First of all, it's Maroon, not
Maroon.
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 It's the accent. It's the accent.
It's definitely the accent. Definitely Maroon. 4X. I hate saying this, but blue.
Okay, not a big fan.
Yeah.
Bundy Rum,
Blue.
blue. Tim Tams,
Definitely maroon.
definitely a Maroon.
Maroon.
Vegemite.
I second that.
Vegemite is definitely maroon as well. I love Vegemite.
What about the Mundi? The barramundi.
Maroon for sure.
That's a very Australian fish, Lily, especially from Queensland. VB,
Blue.
blue.
Yeah.
Roo, kangaroo. Do you eat it or do you not eat it?
I haven't in a while. So I'm gonna say blue.
Okay, really good meat though. Pound for pound,
It
one
is
of the
very
best
good
on
meat.
protein, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and a good old pub parmy.
Good old Palmy is a Maroon, mate. Is a
Is a
Maroon.
Maroon. Okay, cool. We're loose. Handing over to Lily. What do you got, Lily?
Yeah, so you seem to know the CrossFit scene pretty well, which I love. And what do you think of those CrossFit athletes that are transitioning over to Hyrox, and who do you think's gonna adapt the best to it? Also, we saw that you were wearing those Pay the Man tees from Josh Bridges, so we want to get our hands on some of those too.
You guys have done your research, haven't you? That was like 5, 6 years ago, those t-shirts. To answer your question, I think it's fantastic that CrossFit athletes and CrossFit Games athletes even are coming over. It's actually such a positive and also a compliment to the sport if you think about it.
Yeah.
Tia Claire Toomey, the most iconic CrossFit Games athlete of all time, is coming to race in Melbourne in 2 weeks' time. I mean, what a compliment. So the more the merrier. The more the merrier. And then who do you, like? I personally think someone like her could potentially do really well in the space. I think of anyone who's had a bit more of a running background than others. I think Tia Claire Toomey, and I think someone like Jeffrey Adler could hit it pretty hard. And I'm thinking maybe someone like Brent Fikowski,
Yeah.
who has just retired from CrossFit actually, due to the fact that he's very, I understand because like I love watching CrossFit. I've watched him for quite some time. He's a stickler for numbers and data, and he analyzes everything. So that's something that is very um it's very good to do for Hyrox. So I got a feeling he could do well. And to answer your question about the pay the man shirts, I got I'll be honest with you, I have developed and just over time the love for just like learning on YouTube and understanding things on just researching and I reckon about 10 years ago I found Josh Bridges YouTube channel and I just loved his whole concept of paying the man. And the whole concept of that is that you don't own your fitness. You have to give it back. You have to pay it back every day. So long story short, it's not his shirt. I actually got them done down the road from where I lived, and my mates and I just used to wear them because we just loved them. So like loved the concept behind it.
We're gonna have to edit that
So
out,
yeah,
Lily, before we get him on copyright for doing bootleg. Pay the man.
that's right.
Okay, good one. So Brent Fikowski, Adler, and Tia. That's
Yep,
awesome.
for sure.
Okay, cool. This question might catch you a little bit from left field, so just take a
Yep.
second to digest it. So
Take a sip of your coffee.
it's rare for an athlete of your level to be so selfless. Back in 2014, you did 3 marathons to help fund a boy's education in Tanzania. Who inspires your kindness is the first part of that question. And how did life play out for Gaston after that? Is the second part.
I'm quite my first reaction to this is I'm quite touched, guys, that you've done this due diligence and research. So first of all, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. It says wonders about you guys. So thank you. Yeah, back in 2014, I ran three marathons. And just on that, I think that was in the space of like 8 or 10 months. And don't ask me why. I was 19, 20 years of age and probably didn't respect the marathon as much as I do now.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably wouldn't do that now because I understand what needs to be done to train for a marathon. I got brought up in a very loving and Catholic, actually, Catholic family, Irish, of course, Ryan.
Yeah,
My last name obviously being Kelly, and then my mum's maiden name being O'Brien. So Irish through and through.
yeah,
Um, I got to answer your question. I was very lucky that my um, grandfather, my mum's dad, lived 14 doors up the road from me, and he was an absolute amazing character, an amazing man. And I'm the first to say that he was probably the one that, without teaching me, but teaching me, if that makes sense,
yeah,
that things such as like other people's um, putting other people first, and um, like kindness and love and care. And I'll be honest, there's not a day that goes by that like I don't think of him, and also what he has taught me. So to answer the question, it was my papa, um, back in the day. So
cool.
stemming on from this kind of story, I guess, I just finished school in 2000. I finished school in 2011, so I was 21, give or take, and I was loving my running. So I just decided to do it for a cause, and raised a lot of money for Gaston. He was 5 at the time, and he was going into like back in Tanzania. It's like prep or preschool, I think.
Yeah, he's 16
And
now.
he's
15.
yeah. To You've actually caught me off guard here. I haven't connected with him for probably 2 years, but we used to keep contact for quite a while. So you've got me thinking about it.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, so I've been able to fund his whole schooling. I'm pretty sure,
Yeah,
even to the point where I'm
Amazing.
pretty sure he'd still be in school, and the money that I was able to fund for him is still obviously helping him out. So,
yeah.
um, so yeah,
Very
yeah.
cool.
First of all, thanks so much for bringing this up. I really enjoyed it.
You're all good. Listen, we really want to tell the story as well as possible. When I watch you compete, and see you hang around on the days after your competition and just cheer other people on, there's something very unique in that, and it just made me want to drill into that bit a little bit more. So I'm glad we got a good answer. So there we go. Question 4. Livy will probably change things up again for you. What do you got,
Yeah,
Lily?
back to Hyrox a little bit. Back to Hyrox, you've obviously been dominating it for years, but what's the weirdest question or comment that you've received from someone who doesn't really get the sport, doesn't understand it?
Well, I think the first thing that comes into my head is like people think it's like climbing rocks. First of all, it's like rock climbing. Um, I got like a lot of people say like, "What's this hydroxy thing that you do?" That's another one, like hydroxy, and but it's probably like it's funny because for quite some time it wasn't a big sport. It wasn't known down in Australia here, and I was obviously here, there, and everywhere in the world doing it. And people were like, "What are you doing?" Like, I'm assuming you're just climbing rocks and doing it for fun because of the whole high rocks, obviously. So that's probably the most weirdest thing. But now it's great because it's all over Australia now, and people understand it a little bit more. Um, so that's probably, and then yeah, I think hydrox. I think there's a thing called hydrox down here, or hydroxy, that is like a fat burning kind of machine that you put on your that you put on your body. So people think that I was doing that as well.
That's how we got so fit.
Yeah, yeah,
It
exactly.
adds up. It adds up. He's got abs, so he must be doing the hydroxy. Send me one of those over. I'm struggling. I got that dad bod right now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this question, I'm asking this question for two reasons, JK. I'm asking it, number one, because secondly, I'm asking this question because for the athletes that are maybe going through it right now, they're in the weeds and they really want to get to the top of the game, something at the end of the tunnel for them that could be possible. What is the biggest sponsorship deal you've heard of from the other Elite 15 athletes yet? No names, no brands, just price point.
Yeah.
Like what has been the biggest check you've heard of written within the sport right now?
I've heard a six-figure sum.
Oh
I've
wow.
heard yeah. And I've heard that a couple of times now, not just
Wow.
once, which
Wow.
is again, like, which is fantastic, but also it's funny. I'll be like, I'd rather be completely honest. I think about that, and in my head, I'm like how, yeah, I'm still so new to this game that I'm like, oh my god, like we could potentially be making that amount of money from a contract from a sponsor. So yeah, it's obviously inviting. I'll be again honest. It's obviously very um very um yeah, like it's very exciting if that can happen. I'll be again completely honest. Like
Yeah.
it does it does get me excited about that because I'm 31 now and I'm not getting younger,
Mhm.
and I'm the first to say that my partner, I'm doing this not just for my own claim to fame and because I love Hyrox. I'm doing it to set myself up with my partner now.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and I'm not afraid to say that.
Yeah, there's
Um,
serious checks getting cut there. So they are anything six figures and above. There's starting to be a lot of money put into the sport. So, and that's probably
Absolutely.
the beginning is all your accounts and the Hyrox account and all start to grow. So we obviously don't want to caught up too much in the weeds on that. We don't want to cross any lines, but and that's more for inspiration
Yep,
for people that are struggling right now, maybe going all in on the sport. There could be light at the end of the tunnel. So keep going. Okay, Lily,
definitely.
back to you.
Yeah, I noticed on your Instagram you said you've gone beyond 100%, giving 150% to Hyrox. When did you decide that that was your thing and like the sport that you wanted to become the best at?
I think to really answer the question, I think when I met and started working with my coach Anthony, which was 9 months ago, was when I went from 100%. I've always been all in. I was always all in, but there's a difference between. I don't know if this makes sense. There's a difference between all in versus all in. Like I know that does what does that
I
mean?
get
Well,
that.
yeah, like I thought I was all in when I first started, but not to the extreme that I am now. And not only myself, but I am so lucky that I have a partner who supports me to be all in. And she's more sometimes I think that she's more all in to my Hyrox journey than I am. She gets more nervous than I do racing. So I think yeah, it was 9 months ago when Anthony and I started working together. But it's easy for us to be all in now because it's uh it's what we want to do, but also what we want to do, if that makes sense. It's what
Yeah,
Georgie and I want to do. Yeah.
how cool. Amazing
Yeah.
journey to go on together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Question 7, back to me on this one. Okay, so you're averaging in the top 30% for the skier and rower in the Elite 15. I've looked at a bunch of your races. So top third. For a shorter athlete, obviously there's much taller guys than you. What common mistakes are they making? And what's the truth behind the myth of the long pull in the erg game? You know what I'm saying by that, JK, don't you?
I do. Yeah. Yeah. Um, it's a myth. It's a myth
Okay.
because, and the reason behind that, Ryan, I'll preface that everyone has to stay in their lane. Now, what that means is if I'm a shorter athlete, if you're a shorter athlete and you're going or you're redlining to try to keep up, or you're going too hard on the ski and the row because you're a shorter athlete and you understand that you're losing time. Well, that's just that's just silly because you're not staying in your lane. Everyone has strengths and weaknesses, and I'm the first to say what I've learned with my coach, especially, is not necessarily spending so much time on your weaknesses. It's actually building those strengths to be an absolute weapon that no matter what, you won't fail in anything because you've built up such strong strengths, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know this kind of didn't answer the question, but it's more about understanding where you are on the ski and the row and understanding what pace you should be going at and actually diluting your ego and going, no, okay, this is what I need to do on the ski and the row because of who I am as an athlete, because of my stature, because of my fitness, more importantly, and being okay with that, which is again diluting that ego,
Yeah.
swallowing that pride, and then from there going, what are my strengths? And if your strengths are the run, get after that run.
Yeah.
Absolutely smash, be aggressive on the runs afterwards.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Okay. So I'm kind of understanding what you're saying is that your focus, albeit it's not to win the race on those two utensils, but it's not to get yourself in a position where you're going to lose it and you can still run after it. So you're going still within the upper echelon, but not trying to really push the guys within those two unique pieces of kit.
absolutely. I'm sorry, I'm smirking because yeah, the the race isn't won after ski erg. I mean, if you actually have a look at how the women versus the men race, it's so different, guys. And I personally think us men can be a little bit more fiery from the get go. That result in not necessarily a consistent race. Versus I think the women are actually a little bit a little bit more smart and actually understand the actual race itself. So, what you said there, you're right, Ryan, is just sticking to what you know is best in terms of the pace and not going above that because at the end of the day, you understand that run one to the ski erg, 10, 8 to 12 minutes, you've still got a long way to go. It does not matter in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you for the answer on that. Lily, back to yourself on question 8.
So, yeah, Ryan tells me that you won your first race in London. Is that right?
Yes, in Birmingham. It was Birmingham 2022.
That's awesome. So you have a pretty good track record of success from AFL, F45, and now Hyrox. What do you think sets winners apart from everyone else?
Oh, the mindset. Um, it's so easy to state that because here's the thing, guys. You've said to me a few times very nicely that oh he's a great guy. He sounds very selfless, or we've been speaking about that, or yeah, like you know, like but I'll tell you something. As soon as that gun goes off, you don't want to be in my head because if I'm racing against you, you don't want to know what I'm thinking. And I'll be honest with you, that mindset is the reason why I've been able to do what I've done in this sport. Um, and that started as a young age, I think, being very competitive with my sister, who's 2 years older than me. And I'll be honest with you, just wanting to beat her in anything and everything. To then grow up and go to an all boys school. I went to a Catholic college boys school that was just honestly just all about sport and winning and being the fittest been the biggest that led me to that to this kind of mindset.
Yeah.
Um, and I think most if you think of or if you talk to a lot of the other athletes, I think they're in the same boat as well.
Yeah.
I've
Awesome.
got kind of a follow-up to that then. How do you go from like nice guy JK in the warm-up or whatever it is, or smoozing around with everyone else before you race, to like race day JK and making that switch?
Yeah, I think it's just like I talk to myself I talk to myself a lot. Um and I'm able to like switch it on and switch it off. Um I think that's my technique that I use to be completely honest. I'm able to do that. I'm able to like turn it on and turn it off, which is something that I've been able to do, or like I remember being able to do that on the footy field and off the footy field when I used to play Aussie rules football. But yeah, it's self-talk, to be completely honest. It's what I'm telling myself. And yeah, um, I'm laughing because like I talk to myself a lot, which is probably
They say it's really healthy. They say it's really healthy to
I
talk to
hope
yourself.
so.
Honestly, they do.
I hope so.
Psychologists do say it's really healthy because you're airing out your thoughts, and you're making agreements with yourself on what you agree with, what you don't agree with, and where you're at. And they say it's really healthy. Okay, cool, good answer. Let's we're around about the 45-minute mark, so I do want to stay as close to it as possible. And we've got a bonus round. The bonus round's a three-parter. Let's keep these ones just more short and punchy. First thing comes to brain. Let's get them out. So this question, the first part of this question A, is from John Wynn. The athlete that's currently on asks the next athlete a question. That's kind of a
Yeah,
continuity.
I've heard that.
So what happened after the last major last year and the first last chance qualifier? John was really interested because the last major of last year, you got exposition, and then the last chance qualifier, I think, was in Cologne. You shaved like 3-4 minutes off your time. He wants to know what happened. What was the big shift for you there?
Working with Anthony, my coach, we pretty much started straight after that last major, and it was only 6 or 7 weeks till the last chance qualifier. But honestly, it was having him in my corner, his programming and what he was delivering me. Yeah, sure, but having a coach to bounce off and talk to every day, pretty much, just gave me so much confidence leading into that last chance qualifier.
Cool. Part B of that question is, what would you like to ask the next athlete? Next athlete is Jana Lebenstunt. Excuse my pronunciation on that, but the German athlete, Elite 15 lady. What would you like to know from one of
Yeah,
the athletes?
yeah. I met Yana in Hong Kong. I'm fairly certain. And I think I'd ask this whether it was her or not. I think it would just be as simple as like, if you knew you wouldn't fail in this sport, or if you knew you wouldn't fail, what would you do, or what would you want to do? Because I think people still shy away from really putting 150% in, and that's what I want to know about other elite athletes. Sorry,
Yeah.
is if you knew you wouldn't fail, like, what's your goal? That's the question. If you knew you wouldn't fail, what's your goal?
I love that question. That's perfect. And then the last one that we ask everyone is, we're thinking more so about athletes. This is just estimates, but 90 minutes to around about 2 hours, maybe just above. What's the one thing that you could tell them? And if they implemented that one thing and they had 3 months to implement it, what would be that one thing to save them 10 minutes off their time?
Off their time, run and run, and then run again, not fast. It's all about making sure that you can sustain the time domain on your feet. So make sure that if you're starting from lack of training, or not much training, the number one thing you need to do as many times a week as you can is get out there and run, or get out there on your feet for 90 minutes to 2 hours at a time. That's the
Yeah.
most important thing.
Yeah.
The pace doesn't matter. Pace doesn't matter. Even us who are trying to do a Hyrox in 53 minutes, right, or 55
Mhm.
minutes that I did in Hong Kong, we are in the aerobic state for all of that. Everyone is it's aerobic. And I think a lot of people are still toying with the idea of we need to run fast to get faster. Well, you need to make sure that you've built up the base and the foundation aerobically before you do anything else.
Okay, there we go. So run, run, run. Before we begin to wrap things up and give you a chance to sort of get yourself out there and your contact out there, any questions for us? Anything? Because we've just been grilling you for 45 minutes now. Anything that you'd like to know about us, the direction of the podcast, anything like that? Feel free. If not, no worries.
Yeah, about time I can ask some questions back to you
You
guys.
want to see what my T-shirt is?
Yeah.
My T-shirt needs some context. I've just got a little man there popping his head up. It's
What's
Rick
he
Ross.
say?
Need money for real
Yeah.
watches. So Rick Ross was
Yeah, I
caught
like it.
wearing fake AP watches, and there's a watch YouTuber over here called Nico, and he was ripping him out online, and Rick Ross started getting really pissed off because he was found out to be a fake, and I bought one of the T-shirts from the watch guy down here. So that's what, if you see just the little head popping up, that's what's
That's what
going
it
on.
is. Yeah. No, I was actually going to ask. I did do some research, but what does 8x8 truly mean?
So yeah, I started this concept. So 8x8, it's 8 questions. And then I guess the second is just tying it back to the 8 exercises within Hyrox. That's really it.
Yeah.
8 questions, trying to link it to Hyrox with the second 8 without calling it the Hyrox podcast. Yeah, so I like the 8x8. I think it's a nice format. And the core of this podcast should always be these questions coming from different angles, because I know how many interviews you guys do, and we just want to make sure you have a different experience, and that's the focus.
Yeah, and just on that, like I've loved chatting to you guys, and it has been a different experience
Good.
than other podcasts that I've been on. So I thank you for that. I've really enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Lily, are you racing? And Ryan, are you guys racing soon?
I have just done a mixed doubles with my partner in Mexico City a couple of weeks ago, which was really fun. And yeah, we're looking for another race, but struggling to find one that works with the dates because we move around to different countries so often. So yeah, just keeping an eye out, really.
Very cool.
And
And
Ryan?
I was doing Ironman for the last 5 or 6 years. Well, until the kids were born. I actually done one just after the kids were born. I done the European Championships for a half Ironman. But then I took about 18 months and just sort of trained casually while the kids were growing a little bit. And I got really out of shape. So about 4 months ago, I made a decision that I wasn't really ready to pack it in as like a reasonable level athlete as of yet. So for me, my big focus is breaking 70 minutes. I done an affiliate Hyrox in Alicante, and my first race I done like 122 or something like that. But even then, I was 101 kilograms. I'm 89 now. And I'm booked in to do Vienna in February, and it's all guns to break 70 for that. And
Awesome.
today I done a 5K test today, and I finally broke 20 minutes again for my 5K. So all signs are looking like I'm kind of on track for that. So yeah, but I'm not doing anything between now and February. I want to put in a really good training block, and I'm about 4 months into it.
Yeah. Awesome, mate. And best of luck. And both of you, if you ever want to have a chat about training or how to train for a Hyrox, please let me know. Would love to help you guys out.
Awesome. Listen, where can people get you, JK? Where can they get you? Instagram, YouTube. I know you've got a YouTube channel now.
Yep. So jk.James Kelly on Instagram. Please reach out on that, or our YouTube channel. Georgie and I have a YouTube channel. I think it's just James Kelly and Georgie Vesley on YouTube. So go check out our latest doubles video that we did doubles for the second time together in Hong Kong as well. So go check out that if you want.
I've already watched it. You got to go check it out.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I've already watched it as well.
Thank you, guys.
Listen, awesome. We've just went over just over 45 minutes. JK, lovely to meet you.
Oh,
I hope
good.
we can pick up these conversations once in a while, and best of luck. So the next race for you is where's the next race for you now?
Vegas in end of Jan.
There's going to be a lot of hangovers
So
in Vegas, so I think as long as you stay off the booze, you're
I
going to
think,
do okay.
yeah, it'll be a bit different. So yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
You're
Nice to
very
chat to you.
welcome. Thank you. Now have a nice rest of the day,
Soon.
and good night
You
from
too.
me, and good afternoon, Lily. Bye bye.
Yeah.